Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, so the International Home Buyer Report just came out for 2022. We are going to go through it. It's fascinating data. Everything you ever wanted to know about this. We're going to put a link to, see if you want to, if you're a super geek and you want to read through all the specifics. But this is a massive report. They have tons of charts. It shows all the people from out of the U.S. coming into the U.S. to buy.
Okay, so before we get into this, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video, and before we get into it, I want to know from you guys, who are the top 3 countries that you think the international buyers are coming from? So write them down right now, and then we'll see if you're right as we go through the report.
Yeah.
Okay, get back to
write
work.
them down. You can put them in the comments, and as we go through the report, we'll share those, and maybe you'll figure it out, maybe not. But my guess is that most of you will get one, but then not the other 2. So, okay, 2022. We're going to start with screens. We've got a lot of screens to go through, so be patient here. Okay, so the total dollar amount of homes by foreign investors, $59 billion. Okay, that the purchasing homes in the U.S. This is April 2021 to March 2022. This is the year that they use. They don't use like calendar year. They use this year every year when they do this. It's only 2.6% of the $2.3 trillion that is done every year in real estate. To put in perspective, we were only doing $1 trillion a year back when the last housing market crashed. Wow. And now we're doing, because there's more homes in the U.S. and the homes are worth more. So the combination of being more homes and being worth more money shows that this is doing this. Now, when we go through the report, we're gonna explain why. Like, why would they even want to come here? Because apparently a lot of people think real estate is super expensive and like it needs to be lower. But why are these people buying homes, right?
Right.
Okay, 98,600. That's the number of foreign buyer existing home purchases just in the last year. That's about 1.6%. And the reason why the percentages don't match is because on average they're buying more expensive homes. Okay. 57% of the foreign buyers who reside in the United States, recent immigrants less than 2 years at time of transaction, or non-immigrants, visa holders. So these are not all like they live in a foreign country, they're just buying a house here. Some of them actually have come over here, but they're still immigrants are considered foreign buyers. Okay, so let's talk really quick before we show the chart with the top. This has got the top 6. Why are some reasons a foreign investor would want to buy here? So
this is going to shock some of you, but homes are really affordable in the U.S. And you're going to say, well, but they're not affordable in this market or that market. And we're going to disprove that because I was shocked. You know, I think that I'm a real estate geek and I think I know a lot of things. But when I saw the difference between other global cities and U.S. cities, and you're comparing apples to apples as far as dollar per, in this case, per square meter, I was shocked. I mean, and particularly, I was shocked in some of the countries that generally don't have a really high cost of living, where you can go on vacation on the cheap, right?
Yeah.
And we've been on vacation on the cheap in these countries, and then when you compare them to big cities here that we think as expensive, like cities in California. It ends up that California cities are inexpensive. Can you believe that?
Okay, so I'm going to put this in perspective. We just did a video where we explained that we just broke 400,000 median homes for a home in the U.S. That was the May report. We have the June report. We're going to do a video on that too. But we broke 400,000, first time in history. The median home in the U.S. over 400,000. If you live in the Bay Area, you're probably going, wow, I didn't realize homes in the U.S. were that cheap, because it's over 1.6 million in the Bay Area. Okay, but U.S. as a whole, 400,000, that's it. That's the median. Canada, 1.2 million median for the nation. Homes are very expensive there. So with that, here are the list of the top 6 foreign buyers and what country they come from. Now, this is just the top 6. There's, of course, almost from every country they're buying. Right. Canada is 11%.
I was shocked. I mean, yes, I understand that there are lots of Canadians, and some of them are our friends, that come here and purchase homes. But I was shocked that Canada came in at 11%. I thought that was huge.
Okay, you ready for this?
Yes.
If you go through the report, it breaks it down by year. In 2015, they were 23% of international buyers.
Yeah.
And 2015 was the year ever, the most international people. And if you think about it, if you been watching this blog, because I know some of you have been doing it for over a decade, we've talked about historically how homes have been so cheap in the U.S. And I think people from other countries were recognizing this. Because remember, after the housing crash, median home prices in the U.S. were like 180.
Right.
And that was just they were looking at us going, hey, this is a little, so they have been buying houses really. We have a chart that's going to blow you away too. But Mexico, 8.5%. Now, some of you are going to be like, whoa, hold on a minute. Mexico? Like, aren't those the people trying to come over here? So, Oana, let's talk about this. Yeah. What is the demographic? Like, how is Mexico demographically, and why are they buying so many homes in the U.S.?
So, in the U.S., we believe that we have this huge disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and that the numbers of the haves are very small, and the numbers of the have-nots are huge. Well, Mexico actually has, in my estimation, an even greater chasm between the haves and the have-nots.
Okay, right.
Okay. And so the haves in Mexico are very affluent. They own businesses. They have a lot of means, and generally speaking, when people have means, they want to diversify their holdings. And one of the ways to diversify their holdings is, of course, to purchase real estate from their neighbors to the north. Now, what's different about Mexico is I can't go to Mexico and purchase real estate on my own.
Right.
Okay? But they can come here and they can purchase real estate. So the U.S. is really a very unique place in that we welcome everybody's money. Okay? We don't care where you're from. You want to buy a piece of property, bring your money and we'll do the deal.
Yeah, and you can, in theory, you can go to Mexico, but they do have substantial restrictions on U.S. citizens.
Absolutely.
Because they're trying to protect what they believe is like premium markets and things, coastal areas, things like that, because they just don't want U.S. developers to come down and buy up Baja California and start developing it. They want to preserve as much wealth within their country as they can. China, 6%. This makes sense. China's a huge... they have the second largest middle class on the planet, I think, next to us, and I think they have the most millionaires. They have more millionaires than we do.
That's what surprised me. I honestly thought that it'd be China. I mean, like, come on, they've got the greatest population as far as numbers are concerned. They have the most millionaires. There's a lot of money. So, to me, before I looked at this report, I would have put China at number one. No disparaging comments about Canada, but I mean, just the numbers to me would have made sense that Canada would have been number one, and I certainly would have put them, if not number one, then number two, but they ended up coming in at number three, and that was very surprising to me.
India's number four. A lot of these are immigrants.
Right.
They do have money. Remember, India is also one of those countries with although it does have a large number of very poor people, it does have very affluent people, and it's a huge country. You just by population wise, they're going to have a higher percentage of people buying here. Brazil, that's surprising, 3%.
Right.
Colombia, so Colombia, is a small country, relatively small,
yes.
Although affluent country in South America. But you know what's missing from this list? Europe.
Yes.
There's zero. None of these countries are in Europe. Europe, this includes Russia, like your whole European economy is the same as the U.S., but they're not a top buyer. Like none of these, you're not seeing the UK, you're not seeing France, it's people from Spain. We personally have seen these people. We've seen them come in and buy, but they buy, it's sporadic. They'll come buy a house because maybe there's some visa rule they can take advantage of if they buy a house, and then they keep it so long they get expedited visas. So people are doing that. I would have expected to see some certainly Eastern European countries in here, Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Czech Republic, especially Germany. You would think there would be Germans wanting to buy in the U.S. I think that was a surprise. The other thing we're going to do is we want you to guess the number one state you think they're buying in. And put it in the comments right now. Go in the comments and put the number one state. And I'll
even give you a hint. It is not Nevada.
Okay, it's not Nevada. And surprisingly, Nevada's not in the top 6.
No, we're not.
And if you're guessing a destination that's possibly a mostly leisure destination, you're probably pretty close. So I'll go ahead now that you've had time to put it in there and put up the chart. Top destinations, 24%, a quarter Florida.
Absolutely, the Magic Kingdom.
And what's happened, Juana, in the last year in Florida? We've had,
my goodness.
Because remember, this is the last year. But when you look at the report and look over the last decade, it's been Florida every year.
Right. So Florida has basically always had the lion's share of foreign investors. And I thought that was really interesting. I thought it was, it made sense that Canadians want to go down to Florida. Look, they're looking for some sunshine, some nice weather. I appreciate that. But there were other, Mexico and other places that also picked Florida, which I think part of that has to do with their ability to get there easily and that sort of thing. But Florida has also benefited from this mass migration from other parts of the U.S.
Yeah.
So they've got
New York, California.
New York and California, right? They've gone down there and taken over the place. So very interesting. I hope you're enjoying these charts because we really got a kick out of them.
Yeah, this is fun.
So hang out with us. We've got lots more interesting charts. What else do you want to talk about?
California, 11%. We know anecdotally that a lot of these are wealthy people from Mexico that have purchased. That's where they vacation. They don't. Wealthy Mexicans own second homes in beach communities in California, and they fly up to SoCal from Mexico, and they spend the summer or the winter or whatever, and they go back to Mexico because they have a business there and their families there, as well as the Chinese, of course, because it's easy to get to California. That's where all the flights are. It's also a business tech destination.
Right.
So you have a lot of people coming for tech purposes that have these visas, and then they buy in California. Texas, 8%. It's a lot of Mexicans.
Right. Well, and it makes sense. They share a border with Mexico. There's a lot of business going back and forth. So that made sense.
And something else I found out from having in the past worked with a lot of Mexican investors is that the wealthy Mexicans, they actually all have U.S. citizenship. They have homes in the U.S. When they're getting close to, giving birth, they go on vacation in the U.S. and they have their child in a U.S. hospital to U.S. citizens, and they, and then they, of course, they go back at some point. Arizona, 7%, of course, also borders Mexico. New York, 4%. This did surprise me. New York and North Carolina were 4%. I would have figured Nevada would have been in here. I would have figured Tennessee would probably be in here. I thought Washington might be in here. Maybe even Virginia. So this was very interesting. What else about the states? Anything?
Nope, keep going.
Okay. 44% of buyers paid cash compared to 24% of all existing home buyers. So a quarter of all existing home buyers paid cash, but 44% of foreign buyers paid cash. Now, there's two reasons for that. One is it's harder for them to get loans, right?
It is harder for them to get loans, but one of the reasons is because of the U.S. Policy regarding that if you bring so much money into the country, then you get residency. So that's I think that's a large part of the reason. And to your point, it's not just people from Mexico that come and have their babies here. We do have people from other parts of the world, including China, that come here and have their babies here in order for them to have dual citizenship. Because what's interesting is the U.S. has this policy that if you're born here, then you're automatically a citizen, and not all countries have that. And U.S. citizenship is prized for a lot of reasons, and that is one of the migration things that happens. So you've got people who have to bring in $250,000 or more into the country. That gets them fast-tracked with residency. They have babies here. That's another fast track. So all kinds of policy reasons for people taking these actions.
Yep. And there are other countries that do this, but obviously people are... You could go to Poland and buy a house in Poland and they'll make you a citizen in Poland because they have the same problem a lot of Eastern Europe has. They have net migration. They have people leaving, okay? And, like Romania, the people leave and there's not much opportunity in a lot of those countries. Bulgaria, right? So those countries need to create incentives for people to go. 44% of foreign buyers bought the house as a vacation home or rental or both, compared to 17% in the U.S. We're predominantly buying homes to live in.
Right. So one of the kind of anecdotal things, if you visit beach communities and you go for a walk in the evening, one of the things that will surprise you is how many of these rather large and beautiful and expensive homes are dark. Even in the summertime, and you're thinking, well, aren't these people, even if they're second homes, aren't these people here? These people are from all over the world. And so I think particularly beach communities and resort type communities have a lot of second homes. And so most of these homes are not occupied most of the year, I would say.
If you go to Los Angeles and you go down that strand, which goes through like Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, and you like walk up and down that thing at night, like in the early evening, you will find most of those places lights are off. And you're like, well, why shouldn't they be home, like having dinner, watching TV, or doing stuff? And you'll see but a lot of these places, they're vacation places, right. And they're multi-million dollars that sit literally right on the ocean,
right?
And they're like this skinny, but they're dark because that's not their primary residence. They don't live there. Okay, the next chart we're going to show, this is very cool, put it up right now. Okay, on that left column is cities. We're only going to talk about cities in that column. And then on the right side, metro areas only in the US. This is what we're going to compare. Global cities and US metro areas that are broader, okay? Now, these are the most expensive cities in the US. Hong Kong.
Hong Kong's not in the US.
I mean the most expensive cities in the world.
Okay.
Hong Kong. This is price per square meter. The rest of the world uses meter, except for us. Okay, everybody uses square feet.
So we're comparing apples to apples, so hang with us.
Yeah. When you see the number and go, why is it so much? It's not that much per square foot because we're using square meter.
Right.
And square meter is more, right? Okay. Hong Kong is the most expensive city. It's $28,000. That's only within the city. The next is London. $26,000, and then a precipitous drop to 3, which is New York. We're only talking about New York City, okay? Tel Aviv, Israel. These are very expensive. You can go down this list, and what's amazing is if you go all the way down to Prague, Czech Republic, that's the bottom one. Now this list is massive. We just grabbed like maybe the top 20 here. So Prague is like say the 20th most expensive city. The number 1 most expensive metro area in the US is cheaper than Prague, which is in Czech Republic. San Francisco, this also includes Oakland, Hayward, and the greater area. Median home price about 1.3 million. It's about 8,200 price per square meter, but it's 8,293. So it's more expensive to live in the city of Prague than in the Bay Area. And if you ask the average person, they'd be like, Prague, that's like Eastern Europe. It's got to be super. I went on vacation there. It was super cheap. Yeah, but now go try to buy something.
Right.
Which is why we sort of have held this belief that real estate is ridiculously inexpensive compared to the rest of the world. And when you compare these cities to what, just look at this chart and go down there and look at like, Portland and like it does have New York in there. Again, you're probably wondering, why is New York on the right less? Because remember, this is the whole metro area. So it includes Pennsylvania, New Jersey. It probably goes close to Allentown. So it's that whole metro area. And it gets cheaper when you get out. So you're averaging in cheaper places than, Manhattan. But you can see that the most expensive U.S. metro areas, 3 of them are in California, San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, Seattle, which is West Coast, Denver, and then you start to get to East Coast places. But then, Portland, Salt Lake, which is West Coast, the DC area, Miami, Austin, which are relatively new to this chart. They would have been not listed on this chart 2 years ago. They wouldn't have been in the top 20, but they're making their way up as international cities.
But especially when you compare all these U.S. cities to these international cities, it really drives home the point of how affordable real estate is in the U.S. versus the rest of the world.
This next chart is fascinating also. This is the number of homes purchased per year. It goes back to 2011. You can see 2015, 16, 17, and 18. It was 2017. That was the most units bought. I said 2015 before I meant 2017. 284,000 homes purchased. The next year was 266. In 2022, the last year basically, they've only bought 98,000. So the number has dropped almost a third.
Well, and I think part of that has been people's inability to travel here.
Okay, inability to travel.
Right, because when you take countries like China out, because they haven't been able to travel to the U.S.
Right.
That's been a barrier to entry.
No, Canada's actually, it's been difficult to travel because of vaccine requirements.
So again, Canada. So you're taking these countries that were significant contributors to the home purchasing, and you basically are wiping them out because they just could not get here.
We're going to go back and look at all cash buyers. This is also a fascinating chart. The thing I love most about this chart is this goes, the bottom light blue line is U.S. It's all U.S. existing home buyers. The top line is foreign buyers. These are all cash buyers. You can notice the chart, it follows, right, itself. But 2011, 12, 13, 14, we were basically 30% in the U.S. 30% of all homes bought in those years were cash. Now, Oana, what do you think the average home price was back in 2011, 2012?
A fraction of what it is today.
Yeah, it was less than half of what it is today, okay? So it was easier to pay cash for a house because they were cheaper homes.
Well, they were cheaper homes, and particularly if the home was really inexpensive, you could not get a loan no matter who you were, because there were no loan products to address the bottom of the market.
Yeah, if you were trying to buy a $50,000 house in 2011 at the bottom of the market, you couldn't go to a lender and say, hey, I want to get a loan. They'd be like, hey, our minimum loan is like 60 or 70 grand. And that was a problem with lenders. But you can see that as time went on and homes got more expensive, the number of all cash buyers percentage started slowly dropping. But what happened 2022? Boom.
Right.
Back up. All cash buyers came in purchasing homes because they started to see inflation. And they said, what's the best way to save my cash? This is also shows some possibly people pulling money out of markets and going into real estate, where it's a safe haven, better safe haven for that. Here's another really good one. Residential property purchases by type of foreign buyer. So you have the 5 categories: single family homes, townhome condos, land, and then other, which could be a high rise or something, right? And then you have the different types of residents, non-resident, resident, or all foreign buyers. And the all foreign buyers is an average of the 3. It's not 3 separate things. You have non-resident type A, resident type B, and then the combination of the 2 by percent. But basically 64% were buying detached single family homes.
Right.
2/3.
They're still more desirable, I think, for everybody. We all want whatever that little piece of the world is that's just our own and not have to share it.
Yeah. The other fascinating thing is we don't have the chart for this, but if you were from China, you preferred something in a city. Like Chinese buyers were preferring to buy in a city, like maybe in a high rise or something like that. And Canadian and buyers from Mexico were tending to buy more residential homes. It could also be that's people in China that are wealthy probably live in cities. They're probably used to cities. They probably want to buy something that they live in. We don't know. It didn't break that down, but it was just a fascinating thing, I thought.
Well, I think it just has to do with people's preferences based on what they're familiar with. So in China, they're very urbanized, particularly the people who are wealthy tend to live in urban areas. They tend to live in high rises. So when they go to purchase something, they're more likely to purchase something that is more similar to home, something that they're familiar with, comfortable with.
The report is fascinating. We'll put a link down below so you can click on it and go through all the data. This is data gathered by NAR, National Association of Realtors. They literally track everything. They've been tracking everything for a long time. We will do this video every year. So we'll do this video again in a year. So in order for you to see the video next year, you will have to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will be able to get this fantastic data. This is the whole U.S. It was not just Las Vegas, but we thought we should cover it. What else do you want to say?
If you like the video, please share the video, like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us comments. Tell us what you think about all this. We just found it so fascinating that we couldn't resist sharing it with you. So we want to read your comments about how this compares maybe to places that you have fantasized about living in, or maybe where you currently live. Particularly as far as the second home realm is concerned, if you're a U.S. citizen and you live here in the U.S., and maybe you fantasize about having a second home abroad. Now you've got some pricing as to what that second home is going to run. What do you think about that?
Oh, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is a good. We're going to go see if we can find the data for what foreign countries U.S. citizens are buying in.
Oh, I'd like
that.
If
we can find that data, we'll do a video, and you'll be able to see what part, like where in the world Americans are buying.
Yeah, and if you happen to have a link for that, please drop it down in the comments. Save us some legwork.
Yep, and you can email it to us. I know sometimes links don't work in the comments.
Okay.
So you can send us. You can email. People have done that. They've emailed us articles, and then we'll go through the article.
Yep.
So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.